You're watching Traders Morning Setups with Dex the Algo Capitalist. Dex created his Pulse Wave price trigger reports over 2 decades ago, and he's been using them to ride the pulse waves as a full-time trader ever since. Find out more about Dex's reports and sign up for our next webinar to learn how to use them at pulsewavetrading.com.
Good morning, good morning, good morning. Hopefully you have been up and about and you know what's going on, because there are fireworks going on. We're going to jump all over it. So here we go. All right, looking at our markets, we have the overnight markets and now the market, the futures and stock markets. 9:30 opening bell has announced. So let's take a look at what has happened, and I'll give you a hint on what's about to happen. All right, so the U.S. dollar index is up 3 pips now at 102.40. So it's holding on to that 102 handle for dear life. Next, we got the euro, which is down 5 pips at 109.96. We got the pound sterling right now up 5 pips at 127.53. We have the Aussie down 14 pips at 67 even. We have the Bitcoin futures up $2,100, trading at $48,365. The market has a overnight high of $48,595. Ethereum futures are up $162 at $26.65. All right, and we have a bullish 2-bar Charlie set up on the Ethereum futures today. So we expect Ethereum futures to close in the green and to be up all day. Crude oil futures right now are up at $1.45 a barrel, trading at $72.82 per barrel, still trading in a rather wide trading range. We have the nat gas off 2 pennies at $3.01. Gold is up $9 per ounce, trading at $2,037.10 per ounce. The overnight high is $2,056.36 per ounce. Silver is up 7 cents per ounce at $23.13 per ounce. We have copper up a penny at $3.79. Dow futures are up 7 points at 37,946. The overnight high is 38,037. We have the S&P 500 up 8 1/4 points at 48.28, and the overnight high is 48.38 even. As far as the E-mini NASDAQ 100, it is up 71 1/2 points at 17,016 1/2. And the overnight high is 17,056 even. Russell My Hustle is down 7.9 points at 1976.10. Overnight high is 2,020. That's 2,000.20. The soybeans right now are up a whopping 6 cents per bushel, trading at $12.42 per bushel. However, corn is down almost 2 pennies, trading at $4.57 per bushel. And wheat is off 2 cents, trading at $6.08 per bushel. Yeah, I see you in the XRP. Let's see, is XRP finally going to head to the dollar? That is what it is trying to pump to do. It is pumping to get to that $1 mark. And I did cover that in the video. I think I did, what was that, on January the 8th, I did a 2024 projections video. So you want to go and check that out. That should be here on YouTube. I think I did it on January the 8th, and it's the projections for 2024 on several different securities, and XRP Ripple was one of those. All right, on the news front, we have conspiracy theorists are targeting the Fed, and that's bad news for the U.S. economy. The talk of the town is that the Federal Reserve is being, quote unquote, encouraged by the Democratic Party to lower the interest rates and things of that nature, keep the economy going so that Biden can win re-election. So that's what the talk of the town is. Now, here's the thing, though. That's not far-fetched because the bread and circus, has several acts: Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and that's not far-fetched. The problem, though, is this: there's no such thing as red and blue. It's all one party. Behind closed doors, they agree and vote unanimously, and that's just how it is. All right. The bread and circus is for your benefit. For those watching mainstream news, it's for your benefit, to give you something to talk about, to be concerned about. All right. That's all that is. Tech news: Amazon, Instagram, Duolingo, and Twitch all announced layoffs. Wow. And business news: hand up. It's partly the media's fault that the economy feels so dreary. But of course, the big story today is Bitcoin's big day. The holiday season is over, but the crypto community finally got the gift it's been asking for: a Bitcoin ETF. After years of lobbying, a lawsuit, and one very public false alarm, the SEC announced Wednesday it approved Bitcoin ETFs for trading in the U.S. Fidelity, BlackRock, Van Eck, and Grayscale were among the 11 Bitcoin ETF applications that received approval on an accelerated basis from the SEC. It's a big reversal for the regulator, as SEC Chair Gary Gensler has previously taken a hardline approach to crypto. Now, here's what they're not going to tell you. All right. And this is why I say, there is no red team, blue team. There's no Democrat, Republican. It's all one party. It's not a two-party system. It's one party. All right. Behind closed doors, they all agree on the same agenda. And every vote counts. Every vote that they put in pushes that agenda forward. It doesn't matter if a Democrat or Republican is in office. The agenda of the shadow government is going to go forth no matter who is in office. All right. So understand that moving forward. Now, what they're not going to tell you is that, of course, you had the judge said, they had to, decide or whatever. But here's the thing, and I covered this yesterday. We have had all of these breaches of security regarding the U.S. government, okay? And these Fortune 500 companies that have these multi-billion-dollar U.S. government contracts are supposed to be keeping the country safe, right? But they're failing to do so. They can't stop basic hacks, all right, of government information. They can't stop it. They can't. And that's a problem. But yet no heads roll. No one gets fired. No one loses a multi-billion government contract because of all these hackings and breaches of security. And even with the breach yesterday that was announced, you didn't get any more information about that. Who did it? Where did it come from? Who, what, where, when, and why? You don't get that. And then here's the thing. Was the leak wrong? It wasn't wrong, because then they come out and they approve it. Now, all they had to do when they got hacked was say, we got hacked. This is not us that's saying this. However, we it's still too soon for us to give you an answer, but this is not, we didn't type this. But no, they went a step further. They said, no, not only did we not type this, but it's not true. We have not approved any Bitcoin ETFs. That's what they said. And then they contradict themselves by doing an accelerated approval. So you have to ask yourself, what really happened. It wasn't a hack, it was a leak. There's a difference between a hack and a leak. A hack just comes in and takes over, but a leak is giving out truthful information. And so the hack that turned out to be a leak was true in what it said. It was approved. And then later on, we get, okay, fine, you got us. We approved it. Now, here's the shadowy part that you're not going to hear. Notice BlackRock was among the names that were named. Why do you think the SEC gave this accelerated approval after lying and saying that they will not approve it and it will never happen? And it did not happen because they get something out of it. You see, these large institutions, they get the Bitcoin ETFs that they want, but then the Federal Reserve gets something that it wants. And that is, we need you to turn on your laptops and start buying securities like it's no tomorrow. We need you to prop up this market. As a matter of fact, it would really help us out a lot if you can make the markets rally. We need you guys to act as the plunge protection team, BlackRock, and buy, a couple of $1 trillion worth of U.S. securities. That would really help us do what we're trying to do and push our agenda forward. So yeah, we'll approve it, but we need something from you too on the other end. See, that's what they're not going to mention on the news. So why does it matter? Well, in the simplest terms, a Bitcoin ETF represents a more palatable and straightforward way for both people and firms to invest in Bitcoin. The process of buying and selling Bitcoin has become much more mainstream compared to a decade ago, but it's not without its headaches. Meanwhile, Bitcoin futures, which have been around for years, aren't as acceptable to mom and pop investors. But a Bitcoin ETF is the easiest way for even the most skeptical investors to gain exposure to the cryptocurrency. And with traditional financial firms managing some of the ETFs, there is an added layer of security for those who haven't yet bought into the digital currency ecosystem. Now, beyond representing another way to invest in Bitcoin, the ETFs are also the final piece of the puzzle for large institutional firms looking to trade in the space. The ability to buy and sell Bitcoin as a currency, a future, and an ETF means firms can develop a much more complete trading strategy with the necessary hedging their risk department might require. So the approval of a Bitcoin ETF will likely lead traditional Wall Street firms to push deeper into the space, something many in the crypto industry have been begging for. Now, it seems undeniable this will ultimately lead to a boon for Bitcoin. All right. Fundstrat's Tom Lee suggested the price of Bitcoin could surge to 500,000 in the next 5 years. To be sure, the price of Bitcoin initially dropped 1% off the back of Wednesday's news. All right. So you should question the role crypto native companies, and most of whom have been eager for this to happen all along, will play as things really take off. Now, Wall Street, many believe, I don't believe this, is a zero-sum game where playing nice isn't the standard. But the truth of the matter is, like I've explained before, it's not, because you don't know why someone is selling and you don't know why someone is buying. All right. Someone may buy shares of Apple because they believe so strongly in the company and they have no no mind to sell it. They just want to hold on to it forever and pass it on to their heirs. All right. They don't care if the price goes up or down, because eventually they believe the price is going to be higher than the price they bought it at. All right. That's not a zero-sum game. And the person that sold it to them, how do you know that the person that sold it wasn't taking profit on the trade? And then they passed off the shares to the person that bought it and who said, I'm going to hold on for dear life. In that regard, both people win. Both people got something out of that trade. So it is not a zero-sum game. Zero-sum game applies to casinos. like Las Vegas and Atlantic City, where the house always wins, where the mathematics are skewed toward the house winning in the long run. So if you were to sit there from the time you were born to the time that you die, you would see that even if you had moments of big wins, and at the end you would lose, and all the money would go back to the house. That's the way it is by design. So casinos are a zero sum game. All right. But like high stakes poker and blackjack have been proven that you can beat that. You can actually make a living, counting cards in blackjack, and you can make a living playing poker. Now, of course, the casinos have cracked down on people who count cards at the blackjack table. And one of the ways they get around you is they may use 6 different decks. So every time the person's dealing, they're dealing from a different deck. It's not the same deck twice. That way it's impossible for you to count cards. But on poker, they're professional poker players who have made a career out of playing poker, because that game has skill attached to the portion of chance. So the factor in how some of the industry's high-profile names have had serious legal issues, most notably FTX and Binance, and traditional firms, might not be as quick to establish partnerships. But now here's the problem in closing. Remember back in 2016 when I did the part 1 and part 2 documentary about the crypto space and the global government, specifically the world government, specifically the Federal Reserve, specifically the White House? And I explained at that time that corporations and world governments were going to basically come in and take control of the market. And everyone laughed at me and said I didn't know what I was talking about. And remember when I said big funds are going to start coming in and manipulating the market, and I was laughed at. They said, you can't manipulate this because it's a decentralized thing. You don't know what you're talking about. Remember that? Well, for those of you who did not have the privilege of watching the very lengthy 2-part documentary, it's still up on YouTube. Just go to Pulse Wave Trading and look at the documentary playlist, and it's right there for you, where I predicted all of this. All right. I was the only one doing so. No one else was talking about it. They were still on the side of, oh, crypto is a scam. It's for the mafia and global gangsterism to hide money and to do money laundering and all that stuff, right? But here's something that they weren't talking about. And this is the funny part. While they were saying this, while the mainstream media was parroting this narrative, all this news started coming out about some of the world's largest banks doing just that, becoming money laundering institutions for bad actors, for global gangsters. So before there was crypto to use as your scapegoat, what have people traditionally been doing? They have been money laundering through banks, specifically very large banks. All right. This is mainstream news. This is out in the open. You can Google money laundering at the world's largest banks. All right. That's what they do. All right. Not to mention counterfeit currency. People still print counterfeit fiat paper money. It's counterfeitable. Okay. That's a word. All right. Fiat is counterfeitable. All right. It can be counterfeited. And some people are really good at it. All right. It can be laundered. All right. But that was the excuse they were using for why you shouldn't like Bitcoin and why you shouldn't like the crypto markets. But then what did the governments of the world do after that? Oh, they basically stole the technology. They said, okay, fine, we don't like your crypto, but we love your blockchain technology. Thanks. We'll just go ahead and take that. And then they came back and said, you know what? Now we really do like your crypto thing too. We're going to go ahead and take that too. We're going to make digital government money. That's right. We're going to digitize government money and put it on our own blockchain that we control. So, yeah. In other words, what they're really trying to say is that crypto is bad unless we control it. Everything that you want to do, every idea you come up with is bad until we can control it. That's what it's about. All right. That's the zero sum game they're really talking about. The government takes all, the state takes all. All right. Now, like I said, if you have not watched the documentary, I go into extreme depth and I even give you a history of how the government has done this. This is nothing new. And like I said, it's a very long, lengthy documentary, but it is worth you watching if you haven't watched it. So we're going to see how this goes. But I believe that when all the dust settles, there's going to be a huge correction. That's how Wall Street does. Whenever they come out with a new listing, a new IPO, whatever, it may go up for a day or two, whatever. But the first thing it does is immediately starts going down and dropping like a stone. All right. And unfortunately, a lot of those securities stay down. Now, of course, you've had some historical ones like Google. All right. It's done pretty well for itself. But as a whole, the only people that really get rich are the Wall Street firms that help bring that security to market. Those are the ones that get broke off, them and the government. But the people holding the bag don't. So that's just something to think about moving forward, folks. All right. There's something to think about. I told you Bitcoin was not going to go anywhere, and that was going to be the new Dow. Bitcoin is the new digital Dow. They're not going to let it fail or go to zero because there's too much money behind it. I've told you guys about this for years now. There is too much money that has been thrown behind Bitcoin, behind the scenes and in your face. All right. The whole time they were talking trash about crypto, they were busy in the background doing all they could to be a part of it and to control it and create their own. And that is what you have seen happening right now. All right. And here we are at a new high, new monthly highs in your Bitcoin futures. Bitcoin futures are now at 49,430, up $2,770. Deal with it. It is what it is. Jamie Dimon slams Bitcoin again. The JP Morgan boss reiterated his stance that cryptocurrency is worthless, deriding it as a tool for criminals. Dimon also warned that a recession could hit this year. Now, he's not saying that the US dollar is also a tool for criminals because it's been counterfeited and it's being laundered as we speak. Have you not heard about HSBC? Have you not heard about Deutsche Bank? Have you not heard about Bank of America? Have you not heard of these banks? A finance blogger has been outperforming top firms since 2018. Eddie Elfenbein, a blogger and ETF manager, has outpaced Warren Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway and Cathie Wood's ARK Invest by filing his exchange-traded fund with boring stocks. It's not hard to beat those guys, but it's also not a fair comparison because Berkshire Hathaway is a monolithic institution, a gargantuan, and a blogger is just one person. You can't put your money with his money. It's harder to make profits on $1 trillion under management than it is with a few million under management. All right, it's not apples to apples. All right, you're comparing apples to bricks. The new features of Tesla's refreshed Model 3. It's the vehicle's first refresh in years. It boasts more range and new colors for the same price as before. Some Amazon employees say the launch of its largest generative AI product was rushed and flawed. Soon after launching the AI chatbot Q, Amazon received a barrage of negative feedback. Now, the giant has significantly bulked up its existing team of human staffers who manually review and fix the chatbot's responses. Tech layoffs have come back. Duolingo laid off workers to lean more on AI. Meanwhile, Amazon is laying off several hundred employees across Prime Video and Amazon MGM studios. Internal messages suggest there were also layoffs in Amazon Pay and marketing. Twitch is similarly cutting 500 jobs, and Instagram is slashing an entire level of management. You don't say. There's no future in being a company man. Everyone should know that by now. There is no future in being a company man, period, period, period. Sam's Club is going to stop checking receipts at the door. AI will check instead. The wholesaler plans to use AI to snap photos of your shopping cart. It's already in place in 10 US stores and is set to expand nationwide this year. Interesting. It's partly the media's fault that the economy feels so dreary. A new study found that the media has been more negative about the economy than the underlying data, and things like GDP, inflation, and unemployment would suggest. And Disney Bob Iger needed a win. Pat McAfee just gave him one. For the past few weeks, Iger watched as McAfee and Jimmy Kimmel, two of his most important stars, became embroidered in controversy, but McAfee made one major decision that appears to have ended the squabble, landing a win for Iger. In other news, Ron DeSantis and Nikki Haley both went and did their best play, and that was to rip into each other and largely leave Trump unscathed. Alaska Airlines cancels hundreds more flights in wake of Boeing 737 MAX 9 incident. Alan Dershowitz called for the release of Epstein court documents. In them, Virginia Goffey alleges they had relations at least 6 times. You're not imagining it. It feels near impossible to get into top colleges right now. And the phantom debt of buy now, pay later is growing and will soon hit some Americans hard. Cattle, catapults, and an underground bunker. Is Mark Zuckerberg a doomsday prepper? Costco may start requiring members to scan ID to enter U.S. warehouses. A Meta employee says she's under investigation after claiming the firm censors pro-Palestinian views. Well, we know that's true because did not X discontinue a pro-Palestinian account? Yes, they did. Folks, the truth doesn't need to be censored, but it is. Lies also don't need to be censored because the truth will always win out. But when you start censoring things, it's because you are afraid of the truth. You don't want truth to come out. You want to control the narrative. And if you have the truth, you don't have to be concerned about controlling the narrative. Truth stands on its own and doesn't need your defense. What's happening today? The Brooklyn Nets and Cleveland Cavaliers face off in France. The international matchup is part of the NBA's push to reach more fans globally. And it's Wear Blue Day to raise awareness about human trafficking. The educational campaign was started by the Department of Homeland Security and coincides with National Human Trafficking Awareness Day. They're not trying to stop that. They could stop that with a wave of a hand, but no, they will never stop it. Just like they won't stop drugs entering the country. The war on drugs was a farce, and so is this. Happy birthday, Mary J. Blige, Alexander Hamilton, Naomi Judd, Cody Simpson, Yolanda Hadid. They were all born on this day. All right, folks. So that's all I got for you today, this morning. I appreciate you tuning in. Remember to smash that like button and share and subscribe if you haven't already done so. What are you waiting for? Handle your business. Oh, and don't forget, on January the 23rd at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, the 2024 Doomsday Clock announcement. All right, so that should be rather interesting as well. And with that, you know what it is. The system works. If you work the system, bulls make money, bears make money, and pigs get slaughtered. So remember to take what you can and give nothing back. And on that note, I'm out. Peace.